Tune into Nice Radio every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. for A View from the Outside, hosted by Brereton Horne. A View from the Outside takes a look at key issues affecting St Vincent and the Grenadines and gives a global perspective on how these issues are viewed. Host Brereton Horne will examine a variety of topics to enlighten, stimulate debate, and explore solutions. Hear the facts, hear the real-life stories, hear A View from the Outside. Join Brereton Horne at 7:30 a.m. every Saturday on Nice Radio for A View from the Outside.
On A View from the Outside this week being the 13th of October 2018, we look at home, H-O-M-E, with the view being that St Vincent and the Grenadines will always remain home to all Vincentians, whether they live there or not. And as such, all Vincentians living abroad need to feel that it is safe and welcoming to return home, whether for a visit or to relocate. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines home as a place of origin or one's own country. That being said, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is the origin of many of us Vincentians, including the Garifuna, and it's our own country. It is home. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is home. Many Vincentians emigrate from St. Vincent and the Grenadines and live in countries all over the world. They live mainly in the United States of America, Canada, the United Kingdom, and other Caribbean countries. Most, if not all, Vincentians who leave St. Vincent and the Grenadines home to live elsewhere in the world do so with the intention of returning home to visit and sometimes to resettle. Wherever they go in this world, they refer to St. Vincent and the Grenadines as home. St. Vincent and the Grenadines will always remain home to them. Within recent times, there appears to be a concerted effort orchestrated by the regime and agents of the regime designed to drive fear into those who live abroad and are critical of the regime. It appears that the purpose of trying to instill fear is to get those living abroad not to be openly critical of the regime. Social media and local radio stations in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are rife with open threats and innuendos to those who are openly critical of the workings and performance of the regime. People are told and threatened that they cannot return home to St. Vincent and the Grenadines or they will be in deep trouble. People are told and threatened that if they return home, they face the prospect of being committed to the mental asylum for psychiatric evaluation. They are told that if they return home, they may be subjected to the treatment of Yogi Farrell or to the Yogi Farrell treatment. Many will remember that Yogi Farrell is the young lady who appeared before the magistrate's court in Kingstown, St. Vincent, on the 5th of January 2018 on summary charges only. And she appeared for charged with using abusive language to Karen Duncan Gonsalves, the wife of the Minister of Finance, Camilo Gonsalves, the son of the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It was reported that when Yogi Farrell appeared at court and without any evidence of mental illness presented to the court, she was ordered to be committed to the mental asylum for 2 weeks for psychiatric evaluation. It was in the face of local, regional, and international protest that she was released from the mental asylum. The world now waits with bated breath for the next court appearance of Yogi Farrell, which is scheduled for the 17th of December, 2018. People are told that if they return home, they run the risk of being killed. People are told that if they return home, they are likely to face the wrath of the regime and its agents, like Paul Ahmad Scruggs did. Paul Ahmad Scruggs is a Calypsonian and an entertainer, and a fierce and open critic of the regime. He was arrested and charged in July 2016. He was charged with threats to the Prime Minister, Rav Gonsalves, and members of his family, and making seditious utterances. When he was eventually granted bail, all of his travel documents were confiscated, and he was denied the ability to leave the country. All of this only to have all of the charges dropped several months later on the 26th of January 2017, when the prosecutor told the court that they, quote, couldn't sustain the charges, unquote. This came only after Paul Ahmad Scruggs had lost his accommodation and his job back in New York. Some of the critics of the regime have expressed openly, while others have done so surreptitiously, that the threats will not stop them from speaking up for and on behalf of the people of St Vincent and the Grenadines. They have said that they will not sit back in silence and see unfairness going on in their homeland and not highlight it and speak about it. They will not remain quiet when injustice is being perpetuated on a selected group at home, especially on those who do not support the regime. They will not be cowards and say nothing while in the form of recorded killings, while crime in the form of recorded killings, robberies, gun crimes, rape, and sexual assaults on women and girls pervade the blessed land, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They will not be cowered into submission and say nothing when poor people at home cannot find employment. They will not sit back and say nothing when poor people at home are unable to afford basic medicine. They have said that they will not remain silent when corruption is rampant. They will not remain silent when the mystery of the attempt to deposit $1 million in cash into the Accountant General's account remains unresolved. They will not remain silent while David Ames remains at large after he absconded the country from facing trial on tax evasion and other fraud charges. While at the same time, the workers at Bukomar Resort remain unpaid. People have said that they will not remain silent while the allegations remain that high-ranking officials in the regime have millions of dollars deposited in bank accounts overseas. And when there has not been a conclusion presented to the public after an investigation into the matter was promised. People have said they will not remain silent while Paul Manafort and those of his ilk are business associates with those in St Vincent and the Grenadines. They will not remain silent while the regime continues to ignore its obligation to provide accountability to the people of St Vincent and the Grenadines. People have said that they will not be cowered into silence while the regime, which is accused of election thievery, and the entire machinery appear to have conspired to change the meaning of the word expeditiously from performing with speed and efficiency to crawling without due regard to a court order. People have said they will not be quiet and pretend that all is well, while members of the regime attend the United Nations and make vainglorious speeches, while they continue to flout the rule of law back at home and deny the duly elected opposition the opportunity to bring a motion of no confidence against the government. They have said that silence is not an option while nepotism is rampant. They have said that they will not be cowered into silence while a dynasty is foisted upon the people of the country. They have said that they will rather forego returning home and avoid the clutches of the regime and express themselves openly, above all, about all of those things and more that are happening in our blessed land. We, on A View from the Outside, call upon the regime and its agents to cease its attacks on its people, whether they live at home or abroad. We call upon the regime to value all of its people, recognize and value the contribution made to the country by those who live abroad. And in financial terms, a financial value in excess of $42 million in remittances in 2017 alone. We call upon the regime to pay attention to the things that they say and try, and that they must try at the very least to provide the enabling environment to correct the things which are wrong. Stop the practice of trying to drive fear into people to try to stop them from returning home. You must remember that St Vincent and the Grenadines belongs to all Vincentians and not just a selected few. People expect home to be a place where they go and relax, not a place where the perception is that guns are awash on the streets and crimes are escalating out of control. They expect home to be a place where they can be themselves, not one where businesses are destroyed, all because their owners are perceived not to be supporters of the regime. They expect home to be a place where they feel that they belong, not one where it appears that foreigners enjoy the best of the country at the expense of the local people. They expect home to be a place where they can visit at leisure. Yes, they expect home to be a sanctuary, not a place where they have to run away from. We, on A View from the Outside, therefore say that in this month of the 39th year of the independence of St Vincent and the Grenadines, all Vincentians must strive to protect our homeland. We believe that the entertainer Bomani got it right in his rendition of his song, "This Island, Uremi, is home for me." To achieve Bomani's ideal, the man age has encouraged us to take back our country. As he said in local parlance, "Come, may we take back we country. Vincentians, let us all recognize that St Vincent and the Grenadines is home to all of us and take our homeland back. Until next week, Justin and all of the listeners, this is Brereton Horne with a view from the outside, with a reminder to send your feedback, as usual, to a view from the outside at hotmail.com. That's a view from the outside at hotmail.com. Have a pleasant Saturday, a wonderful Sunday, and a productive week ahead where we all value our homeland.